I'm Jovanne Delgado, and I graduated here from Youth for Tomorrow in 2003.
When you return to this campus, what emotions do you get? What kind of feelings do you get when you come back after so many years?
Oh, it's very much mixed emotions. I mean, this was a good part of my transformation as a juvenile, as a kid. I mean, as a teenager, going into almost 18 years old. So it's very special for me because it helped me become a better person and who I am today.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, and for what purpose did you come to Youth for Tomorrow originally?
Myself, I grew up in the D.C. area, went to D.C. schools. What brought me here was just getting into trouble. I had got a couple charges as a juvenile, and just ran with a bad crowd. Who today I don't have no communication with. It's funny because it's like when you look back, it's all that time that you spend with these people, and they're non-relevant at the moment. But that's what pretty much brought me here, was just getting into trouble, doing minor crimes, but it was enough to get me here.
What was your first impression of Youth for Tomorrow when you arrived? Some folks said, well, they didn't want to be here. I don't want to put those words in your mouth. What was your first impression? And in hindsight, how did Youth for Tomorrow help you?
My first impression, it was different. It took some time to get used to, coming from out of the street and having the temper I had. I had an issue with authority figures and also challenge other residents. It was just challenging, but with the help and the perseverance of everyone here and the counseling and Dr. Jones and the whole team here, I was able to learn self-control and how to control my attitude. And so yes, that was the whole thing.
When did you realize that they were helping you? When did you realize that this was the right place for you? It sounded like you were aggressive and you needed some type of structure in your life, but how long did it take for you to realize it's a good spot for me?
It was more of like the communication, the way they communicated. It was more like a family-oriented versus such a strong authority figure. They allow you to express yourself, and that's when I knew, that it was for the better of one. They were involving with my family, and I have to thank also, now that I remember, Mrs. Phyllis was like a mom away from mom. She worked in the kitchen with us, and she would just give you a snack when nobody knew, when you were supposed to, and that kind of it just started to make me open up to everyone here, as well as Mrs. Hotchkiss was a very lady who you can go to, and it was like another mom figure as well, very sweet to talk to, and never really kind of, was too aggressive, which helped, because then you start to say, well, I'm close to these individuals. They're very nice. They remind me of, mom. So you start to let your shield down a little bit and start to try to move forward towards the progress here.
Do you ever think about what would have happened if you didn't come here? Does that ever cross your mind, or is that something you're way, way past?
Well, I mean, I'm past it. I mean, in that area of my life, but I do think about it at times. What would have happened if I would have ever ended up coming here and stayed in that toxic environment I was in. I mean, who knows? I would think. I mean, you can always think the worst, prison or death, but I just, these days I tend not to think about that no more. I tend to look forward towards the positive things going on in my life. So I have thought about that before, though.
Speaking of positivity, part of the foundation of Youth for Tomorrow is the godly principles that are taught here. Was that at the right time for you? Was that something you were seeking at the time? What did you find in terms of that?
Well, it helped. It helped with my spirituality. But I grew up in a Catholic household, and so we were always praying and reading the Bible and praying before every meal. Here, I became more of a Christian-based style of worship here, and that's who I am today. but I've always been close with the Lord and the stories of the Bible and the lessons and teachings that it can offer. So I've always been close with the Bible.
I'm getting the vibe a little bit. By the time you left here, you were in a leadership role, or that you had matured, because we'll talk about what you're doing now. Am I accurate in that at all?
I would say, I try to be the best I can be. I mean, naturally, I guess I was a leader. A lot of the kids here kind of looked up, or we were just, we did a lot of things together. And so I would say yes, maybe so.
Pastor Denny told me you guys had a football team one year when you were here, and you guys played one game, and you guys won so bad that they don't want to play you guys anymore. Do you remember that?
Yes, I believe so. Yes, this was so long ago, but yeah, there's a lot of activities here. But I remember that. We used to play a lot of soccer here too, go down to the creek. That was one of my favorite moments there. And what really also helped me here was, forgot Mr. Coleman, the groundworks. See, I love to work with my hands and work outside. That was a blessing there, just going out, doing long work, running the small tractor. That was like therapeutic for me without anyone knowing. So I looked forward to getting out there, cutting grass, whenever, any chance that I had.
Well, you put the time to good use because you make a living working with your hands now, and I understand you're moving up the ladder. Could you let folks know what you're up to these days?
Well, yes, sir. I mean, I've been doing plumbing for almost 15 years since I left YFT. A little bit shortly after that, I started going to Strayer University. But then I started working in a plumbing company and never looked back. At this point now, over 15 years later, I've obtained my journeyman's license and recently just obtained my master plumbing license. And I'm working for a company, reputable company in Alexandria. So that's what I'm doing now. Just working every day, doing plumbing, as well as attending Strayer University, which is major thanks to Youth for Tomorrow for me going back to school due to the scholarship program here. So even to today, they're still helping me at 36 years old. Youth for Tomorrow is in my life and a big key to my success.
Much respect to you. And finally, if there were some kids out there maybe facing some of the same challenges that you faced, what would you tell them, maybe in reference to what Youth for Tomorrow did for you? How would you mentor someone who might be in the same position that you found yourself in back in the day?
Well, that's a tough one. There's many aspects to that regarding where they're at and the situations they're facing. But I would just say, don't go down that dark road. There's nothing but darkness there. You need to start trying to do better for yourself, because that moment is short-lived. All them little friends that think they're your homies or they're your friend, they're gonna be there forever. That's short-lived. Slowly you start to realize that they're no benefit to you. They actually bring you down more. So the best advice I could give them is just get closer to the Lord and just stay away from them. There's a lot of things that you can say, but it's one of those things where you got to kind of see where they're at that moment, see what they're dealing with, and kind of give them the best advice on that exact moment, because there's just so much negativity out there, so many things kids face, different levels, so you kind of just go by case basis.